Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric Entertaining Series, the Unported Playlist, where I take a look at some of my favorite unported arcade games of all time. And if you can't tell already, we're taking a look at Alpine Racer, released in Namco by 1994, running on the System 22 hardware. It's another gigantic amusement cabinet. It seems like everyone loves me talking about skiing games on the channel, because it mostly devolves into me telling stories about my previous life working in high-level Olympic and X Games style skiing. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined to want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But honestly, Alpine Racer really kicked off the skiing arcade game revolution, and I remember seeing this at my local ski hill in Killington growing up. I absolutely fell in love with it, and I could go outside and ski anytime I wanted. I lived on the mountain growing up, and skiing was basically my life. If there was a powder day, I would skip school and go there instead, and 9 times out of 10 I'd see at least one of my high school teachers who'd also called in sick skiing the same trails I would ski. So it's really one of those things. Skiing's been a part of my life the entire time, and honestly, even though I had access to skiing, I love these arcade games. And Alpine Racer nailed it right out of the gate, fun very much intended because there is gate skiing in this game. The sensation of movement left and right and carving really does translate well from an arcade game to the actual sport of skiing. And if you never skied before in your life, you cannot turn in mid-air. That is one thing that does not work. Your trajectory remains the same, so this game definitely violates at least a couple of the laws of physics. But outside of the arcadiness of it, this is just another amazing game, and I love that for the most part it isn't really anything other than a race against 3 other opponents. The entire goal is to get to the bottom as fast as humanly possible, and that is definitely something that I would spend a lot of time doing back in the day. When I worked as a ski documentarian and a coach for Olympics and X Games, basically during training we would have competitions where we would just start at the top of whatever mountain we were on, and it would be a cannonball run to the bar at the bottom. Last person to get there had to buy drinks all night long. You did not want to be the last person down. Although I did have a corporate credit card, so honestly when I did lose, it wasn't much of a loss for me. The company took the hit on that one. And that is why I love games like this so much. Not only are they unique, even for arcade games, but they just remind me of a time and place in my life that I absolutely wish I could time travel back to. And you combine that together with really fun 3D graphics on the Namco System 22 and a really good gameplay hook, and you have something that I consider to be one of those Hall of Fame first ballot games as far as the arcade history is concerned. This cabinet was absolutely everywhere, but today if you want to try to find one, it can be very difficult. These things were massive and they broke all the time, as I've said in previous videos. But let's pop over to the intermediate course and just take a couple more laps here. There are 3 courses in this game. You could either compete against 3 other racers to try to get first place like an arcade racing game, or you can do gate skiing. Now growing up I did slalom, super G, as well as GS, but honestly my heart lied in freestyle skiing, and that's what I basically did from like 18 to 24, working in skiing, coaching athletes, dealing with different events. I was part of the committee that basically set the rules as far as qualifications are concerned for free skiing becoming an Olympic event, so I did this for a very long time until I kind of got a little bit bored and decided to move on with my career as a filmmaker. So that's why I love playing games like this so much. They just remind me of that time and place in life. And that is so much of what arcade games and retro games do for pretty much everyone. They transport us back to where we were when we first encountered them, and you can almost live vicariously through the arcade games. It's the same way that every time I smell a chlorinated pool, I think of Beastbuster's Second Nightmare, because the first time I ever saw that game was in a hotel in Aspen, Colorado for X Games, and the pool smell was just there when I played Beastbuster, so they're intrinsically tied in my memory. Now, as far as actually playing this game is concerned, on an analog controller, it works really well, and I'm about halfway through a mod for all of these games using the Wii balance board to actually be able to stand on them and pretend you are skiing, so expect a video on that probably in the back half of the year. But this to me is just the total package. Amazing gameplay, amazing visuals, 3D that you couldn't get at home, and a really fun Namco soundtrack as well. So go ahead and listen for like 45 seconds, and I'll be back with more skiing and more ski stories. But enjoy. Namco always had great music, and Alpine Racer is no different, and pretty much every skier at a professional level is listening to some sort of music while they are skiing. Honestly, the one person that was unique to me, though, listened to classical music when they would compete. I never understood it whatsoever, but the music really isn't there to do anything other than to get you into a headspace to actually perform, so everyone had their own genre of music, and here in this game, definitely that music makes you want to get down to the bottom of the hill first. Now as we move over to the expert track, this is where things get very difficult, whether you're on an analog controller or on the actual arcade cabinet. Some of the turns in this game, no matter how hard you turn, you definitely end up being into a wall. If this was a real race in real life, there would never be these sharp of turns, nor would you ever go across rocks, so it's definitely not that realistic. I mean, obviously, I'm not trying to sell this thing as a ski simulator. It is an arcade game, and honestly, it's a really fun arcade game at that. You'll see here as we jump and land down there into a turn, these are things that you can and will do in real life, at least if you are me, and that was some of the most fun stuff playing games like this, even after I was skiing pretty much 365 days out of the year. If I saw this arcade game in a resort, I would definitely throw some credits in and have some fun, because those are the two things I genuinely loved and still do, skiing as well as retro gaming. But I mean, at that point in time, it wasn't really even that retro. That fall would hurt a lot worse in real life, and some of the landings here would basically take your ACL, MCL, and medial meniscus and send them to the dumpster. You'd be getting all brand new parts, and trust me, I do know about that as well. But again, these are just the type of experiences I love, even if we fall off this cliff here and somehow make it into a shortcut. They're fun arcade games, and they're experiences that you could not have at home. Even today, obviously, graphics have gotten much better than what you're seeing here on Namco System 22, but there is still no control device that you can stand on, hold a handle, and pretend you're actually participating in skiing. That's why these cabinets always hold such a fun curiosity to me, and if I didn't live in Chicago where space is at a premium, this is the type of thing I would 100% buy for my collection and just have fun with. It's the type of thing when friends come over, if you just stand them on top of it, everyone's going to understand immediately what you're supposed to do, and they are going to have a ton of fun doing it. Combine that together with this classic System 22 look and my experience in this sport, and they're just one of those things. Every time I play this game, it makes me both happy because I get to go back to a time and place in which I did something I loved, and like 10% sad because I wish I could snap my fingers and be 16 years younger than I currently am. I love my life, I just wish I could go back to my mid-20s. But honestly, if I do get this Wii balance board thing working, I think I'm going to dig around at my family's house, probably in the garage somewhere, because I'm sure my downhill suit is still in there from when I would compete in high school in racing, and I've kept basically the same physique, so I could probably squeeze into that thing and do some stupid sexy Flanders on camera, which I think would be hilarious, but you tell me down below. It's not often I show my face, but the next time I do, it might be in a full downhill suit. But if you ever see a cabinet for Alpine Racer, definitely throw some quarters into it. I've said this in pretty much every amusement cabinet video, but these things are not getting any more common. They break all the time. People beat on them, they stand on them, they whip them back and forth, and all manner, shape, and size of people use these things. So they were notorious for breaking just based on use. You can beat an arcade button and stick pretty hard, and it will continue to serve you for years to come. But these sort of cabinets here definitely break down over time, and they become less and less common because more arcade operators just don't have the parts to fix them, or they're not making enough revenue on the arcade floor to be able to actually earn income. And if you saw there that I straddled that gate, so long as you get your foot around it, even in real life, it counts. Just trust me, you do not want to take one of those gates straight in between your legs. It is a bad time 10 out of 10 times. You're going 45-50 miles an hour. It is not what you want slapping between your thighs, if you know what I mean. But all jokes aside, and this video has been filled with jokes and anecdotes and stories, I just love Alpine Racer. It's such a unique game, and this was an era in arcades where pretty much everything was unique. Sure, if you go to an arcade now, there's a lot of redemption machines and VR, but I just wish we could recapture this era in which pretty much every other arcade cabinet offered you something that you could never get at home, because even today, like I said earlier, this is not the type of experience you're ever going to have if you're sitting in your living room. But short of that, that's Alpine Racer. Definitely check it out if you ever see it. We are done here, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.